Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how the Conservatives are now having the genius idea of trying to cause trouble for Labour over the defection of Natalie Elphicke by pointing out Tory corruption. Presumably with the dual aim of also making other potential defectors think twice. I just see it backfiring on them. So the front page of the Mail on Sunday today. They seem to have gotten bored of Angela Rayner, by the way, and are instead presenting a story which accuses Elphicke of having asked the Justice Secretary some years ago, Robert Buckland, to intervene to help her former husband, who was at the time facing criminal charges. Only what the Conservatives and their client journalists are doing here is pointing out just how corrupt the Tories are. First of all, by releasing this information, which they have had for multiple years and done nothing with, years later, they're admitting they covered it up for all this time. But it gets even murkier than that. So the specific allegation is from Robert Buckland, who is one of the more moderate Tories and was, at the time of the trial in question, the Justice Secretary and has since been Attorney General. Buckland is alleging that Natalie Elphicke approached him with a view to pulling strings to help her at the time husband dodge charges for sexual assault. Now, if true, obviously didn't work because Michael Elphicke was convicted and his appeal failed, and I would expect no less. Robert Buckland is one of the relatively decent Tory law officers, has respect for the law, or so I would have thought, because this latest episode may cast doubt on that. Not because we're now in a case of Buckland's word against Natalie Elphicke's and we're going to choose to believe Elphicke because she's now Labour. No, I mean, Elphicke denies the allegation, but being honest, I can believe that if she thought that Buckland might help her out, she would absolutely have approached him. And why would I believe this? Because Natalie Elphicke was investigated by the Common Standards Committee and found guilty of attempting to influence senior judges in the trial of her husband at the time. So it's not at all a stretch to suppose that Buckland is telling the truth here. But therein lies the problem for the Tories. When Laura Kunsberg, who's the Tories' clumsiest agent at the BBC, she tried to question Labour's Jonathan Ashworth this morning about this, and she suggested we should believe Buckland because he's a KC, you know, a senior barrister. Now, we must also remember that Suella Braverman, who was Attorney General at the time as a KC, you wouldn't trust her to tell you the time of day. However, in Buckland's case, I would absolutely accept him as basically honest in matters like this. Except, of course, he's now shown himself to be dishonest. Because, as I've already described, Natalie Elphicke was investigated by a House of Commons committee, specifically on this charge of trying to apply undue influence in the trial of her husband. There's already been an investigation. She was found guilty. If Buckland's claim is true, then he deliberately withheld material evidence from that very investigation. Deliberately. Maliciously. And so in trying to do his party a favour and turn this defection to the Tories' advantage, what Buckland has actually done is destroyed his own reputation for basic honesty, and produced something that might now backfire on the Conservatives. Because one of two things now has to be true of Robert Buckland. The first possibility is he's lying right now about Natalie Elphicke trying to get him to help her husband, that she never actually did it. He's lying, therefore he's dishonest. Or the second possibility is that he's telling the truth about this, which means he deliberately failed to pass on this information to the parliamentary investigation that took place on this very matter in 2021. That would also make him dishonest. So whichever of those two things is true, Buckland has definitely acted dishonestly in one way or another. He's either deliberately lied or he's deliberately withheld evidence, material evidence, from a House of Committee standards investigation, very serious. One of the two things has to be true. Now, obviously, with the Tory client media not reporting that particular line of thinking and putting the emphasis on, oh, what are Labour going to do about it now they have this information? It is, of course, possible that what the Conservatives are trying to do is put pressure on other would-be defectors to think twice about defecting. Basically saying, if we've got dirt on you, we're dishing it the moment you leave. You know that, don't you? However, that would only work if the potential defector that's to come has any wrongdoing that's been covered up by their party. Remember, there was none of this for Christian Wakeford or Dan Poulter, who had previously defected to Labour, presumably because there's no dirt to dish on them. Despite what we may think, there are some Tory MPs who ultimately don't have any skeletons in their closet. So if Labour do have at least one more defection lined up and their nose is clean, so to speak, I don't see how this works for the Conservatives at all. It's like, yes, in theory, you could say they're going to say Labour are now backing her just because she's a Labour MP. But then that invites Labour MPs to have to comment. And they will just keep pointing out, if they've got any sense, that Buckland is either, if he's telling the truth now, then he was covering this up for years and withheld it from a serious investigation. However they try to spin it, as long as Labour MPs are canny, they can fire it straight back to the Tories. If Labour are asked what they're going to do about it, they're going to say, well, I mean, there's already been an investigation into this very thing. This is just extra evidence for it. Action's already been taken. And also, where's the evidence that this latest claim is even true? Oh, and Robert Buckland's statement, he's a KC, you know, terribly honest. It's like, oh yeah, but Buckland is claiming he covered this up for years, including withholding it from a House of Commons Standards Committee. So, yeah, I'm not convinced he's all that honest. So where's the rest of your evidence? Oh, we don't have any. All right, good joke. So simple for Labour, as long as they stick to those lines. And so risky for the Conservatives, who are already drowning in sleaze and have decided it's a 4D chess move to point out, again, how sleazy they are. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.